I always considered myself lucky. I had a beloved job at the Los Angeles Fire Department, a reliable team, and a strong family. My wife Sarah is brilliant and beautiful, and we have two wonderful children. What more could one wish for? But one fateful event turned my whole life upside down. That day began as usual. A siren, responding to a call. A forest fire in the national park, north of the city. We arrived among the first. The flames were already raging across acres, devouring dry trees and undergrowth. Smoke billowed, obscuring the midday sun. We worked like the damned, trying to contain the fiery element. 3 other guys and I made our way deep into the forest, checking if any tourists were trapped. And then I heard a scream. 2 of my partners were cut off by a wall of flame. Without thinking, I rushed to their aid. The heat seared even through the protective suit. My face burned under the mask. My lungs stung from the smoke. Tongues of flame on all sides, like the claws of a wild beast. Infernal heat. I don't know how I managed to reach the guys and pull them out. The last thing I remember is a deafening crackle and a sharp pain throughout my body. And then darkness. I woke up in the hospital, all wrapped in bandages on an IV drip. Doctors spoke about severe burns, lengthy treatment and rehabilitation. Police, reporters, colleagues, everyone called me a hero, but I felt defeated and broken. The pain was unbearable, my skin seeming to burn from the inside. Worst of all was the feeling of powerlessness and helplessness. Accustomed to always being strong and independent, I suddenly found myself bedridden, unable even to eat or go to the toilet on my own. It was a real hell. After 2 months, I was finally discharged home. But what a home it was! I still needed constant care and help around the house. Sarah took on the lion's share of worries, but she needed to work to make ends meet while I was on sick leave. And then unexpectedly, Mary, Sarah's mother, volunteered to help. I can't say we were ever particularly close. Mary is a woman of strict rules, and our relationship has always been rather cool. She often criticized my choice of profession and how I provide for the family, and if you recall our skirmishes over parenting. In general, the prospect of being under one roof with Mary all day did not make me very happy, and she clearly wasn't thrilled about fussing over me either. At first, the atmosphere in the house was tense. Mary and I hardly spoke, just exchanging platitudes. It annoyed me that she was constantly trying to patronize me, teach me what to do and how, as if I were a small child and not a grown man. But gradually the ice began to melt. One evening we lingered in the kitchen over tea and got to talking. Mary spoke about her youth, about how she and Sarah's father met and fell in love, and I suddenly realized that I had never before perceived her as a living person, with her own dreams, hopes, and disappointments. Behind the mask of a strict mother-in-law hid a vulnerable soul. From then on, our communication became warmer and more trusting. We talked for hours about everything, about life, love, what really matters. Mary helped me not only physically, but also morally, supporting me in difficult moments. And I suddenly realized that my feelings for her were beginning to change. From simple gratitude and affection, something more was being born, frightening and attractive at the same time. Days flew by, and Mary and I grew closer and closer. Now not only spiritually, but physically too. Accidental touches, long glances, meaningful pauses in conversations. A kind of electricity, magnetism appeared between us. I caught myself admiring her figure, her sloping shoulders, her graceful fingers, and when she laughed, butterflies fluttered in my stomach. It was wrong, I understood, but I couldn't help myself. One day when Sarah was once again delayed at work and the children were at school, the tension between us reached its peak. I was lying on the couch watching TV, and Mary was bustling nearby, fluffing pillows and adjusting the blanket. Suddenly our hands touched, and it was as if we were pierced by an electric discharge. Time stopped. We froze, looking into each other's eyes, breathing heavily. And the next moment we were already kissing greedily, crumpling clothes, caressing heated bodies. Passion obscured reason, pushed conscience and morality to the background. We made love swiftly and furiously, as if for the last time, as if the whole world had ceased to exist. It was like insanity, like obsession. Only next to Mary, merging with her into one, did I feel truly alive and whole after all the nightmare I had been through. But after the ecstasy came sobering up and guilt. What have we done? How could we succumb to this madness? We are not strangers to each other. We are bound by too close ties. This is a betrayal of Sarah, of the whole family. Mary also looked lost and depressed. She avoided looking me in the eye, tried to keep her distance. We both understood that we had made a mistake. But the most terrible thing was that, even agonizing with remorse, we longed to repeat it. After that ill-fated intimacy, my relationship with Mary became complicated and ambiguous. We both cursed ourselves for a momentary weakness, promised that it would not happen again. But how to erase from memory those magical moments? How to ignore the attraction that only intensified? To pretend that nothing had happened proved impossible. We began to avoid each other, communicating only when absolutely necessary. Each tried to occupy themselves with something. I sat at the computer all day. Mary fussed around the house from morning to night. The air in the house was ringing with tension. The atmosphere was oppressive. Family members felt that something was wrong. Sarah threw us questioning glances, tried to find out what was the matter. I had to lie, make excuses. I was completely exhausted from constant pretense. But the hardest test was the moments when Mary and I had to be alone after all. Ordinary, everyday situations suddenly became electrified, took on a double meaning. Either she would lean over to fix my shirt collar and our faces would be too close, or I would accidentally touch her hand, passing a cup of tea, and we would both be struck as if by electricity. Then we had to hastily retreat before desire prevailed. Once we were almost caught by Sarah. Mary and I got carried away talking in the kitchen, didn't hear the front door open. And when my wife entered the room, I was just hugging Mary by the shoulders in a rush of feelings. I had to frantically improvise, turning it all into a joke. I don't know if Sarah believed it, but suspicions definitely arose in her head. This case sobered us up, made us realize what a thin blade we were walking on. We decided it was time to end this madness before it was too late. For Sarah's sake, for the children's sake, for the sake of preserving the family, too much was at stake. We had to remember our duty and obligations, casting aside personal feelings and fleeting passion. From that very day, my life with Mary turned into a minefield. We tried our best to keep our distance, but any hint, any careless word or gesture could cause an explosion. It became especially hard when Sarah began to show outright signs of jealousy and suspicion. She threw me silent scenes, bombarded me with questions, made unexpected checks. The atmosphere in the house was heated to the limit. And then one day, the tension reached a boiling point. Sarah came home from work earlier than usual and found Mary and me in the kitchen. Nothing reprehensible, just talking over a cup of coffee. But one look at our faces, at how close we were sitting to each other, was enough for my wife to understand everything. "Oh, so that's how it is. So I wasn't worried for nothing," she bristled. "While I'm slaving away around the clock, you're having fun here, in my own home, with my mother. How disgusting." She burst into tears and screams, threw a towel at me, and ran out. Mary and I sat stunned, crushed by shame and guilt. Well, it couldn't have been worse. My worst nightmare came true. A very difficult conversation with my wife was coming up. All evening Sarah and I talked. She sobbed, shouted, accused me of all mortal sins. I tried to make excuses, to explain myself, to beg for forgiveness. In the end, we decided to give our relationship one more chance, mostly for the sake of the children. But I realized that there was no way back. Too much had been destroyed. The next morning, Mary left. We didn't even say goodbye properly, just exchanged a brief farewell glance, wistful, guilty. We both understood that it was over between us, but we both kept in our souls the imprint of those magical, albeit forbidden days. Life slowly returned to its usual track. I continued to recover. Sarah continued to work. Our relationship became almost as it was before, maybe a little more strained and detached. Sometimes, noticing Sarah's wistful gaze, I guessed, she was also thinking about Mary, about what had happened. Months passed, scars, both physical and mental, gradually healed. We never talked about that episode with Sarah again. Mary visited us less and less often, making excuses about being busy and unwell. We tried to pretend that nothing had happened, but everyone understood the implication perfectly well. I often catch myself thinking, what if? What if I hadn't restrained myself then, had given in to the impulse? What if I hadn't come to my senses in time? Would I have been happy with Mary, having found love and understanding? Or would I still have regretted what I had done, agonized with guilt over a broken family? No, it's all for the best. Feelings burned out, leaving only a handful of ashes and light sadness. But family, children, my story with Sarah, that's forever. That's what really matters, what's worth living and fighting for. I was recently offered the position of fire chief. Now I can bring even more benefit, help people, but with less risk to myself. Sarah is very happy, and the children are proud. And for me, it's a chance to start from a clean slate, to atone for my mistakes, to become better. Of course, the memory of those days with Mary hasn't gone away. Sometimes I still see her in my dreams, beautiful, passionate, tender. I wake up with my heart pounding and immediately feel a pang of guilt. But it happens less and less often with each passing day. Mary and I now see each other only on family holidays. We both keep pointedly polite and friendly, but at a distance. Why stir up old wounds? Although sometimes I notice in her eyes a reflection of the same regret and longing that gnaw at me. But it's only a brief moment, an illusion. And then we return to our usual roles again. People often ask what it's like to be a hero. They think it's some special breed of people, brave, strong, impeccable. Nonsense. Heroes are the same people, made of flesh and blood. With their weaknesses, fears, temptations, it's just that at some turning point they make the right choice, sacrifice themselves for others. But that doesn't mean they always do the right thing. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. I've hurt loved ones, succumbed to selfish impulses. But you know what really makes a person a hero? The ability to acknowledge one's weaknesses, to accept them and try to become better. It doesn't always work out, but damn it, how important it is. So I have no regrets. Not about my work, not about that fateful mistake with Mary, because all of this made me who I am, taught me to truly value the important things, to set priorities. And who knows, if none of this had happened, maybe I would have remained a self-centered ass, unable to appreciate my happiness. I am grateful to fate for a second chance, for what I have now, a loving wife, a strong family, a beloved job, and I'm not going to risk it anymore. I don't want to repeat old mistakes. There is still a long way ahead. We need to heal emotional wounds, regain harmony with ourselves and the world. We need to rebuild our relationship with Sarah, to regain the lost trust. It won't be easy, but I'm ready to try. Day after day, step by step, because it's worth it. Because love, real, strong love, is not a flash of passion, not a mad attraction. It's daily work and dedication, caring, respect, the ability to forgive, something that only gets stronger with age. And the story with Mary, well, let it remain a secret, buried in the depths of memory. One of those temptations that temper the spirit and test for strength. An important lesson and a reminder of how easy it is to stumble and how difficult it is then to deal with the consequences. But even such episodes should not be regretted. They are a part of us, our unique life experience, what makes us stronger, wiser, and ultimately helps to put everything in its place. Now I know where my place is. Next to my family, my loved ones. This is my calling and my duty. And even if it is sometimes difficult, even if I have to fight the ghosts of the past, but I will cope, because I am Christopher Nielsen, a firefighter from Los Angeles, husband, father, friend, a man who once almost lost the most precious thing, but managed to find the strength to fix everything. And this, perhaps, is my main feat. Not to rush into the fire and save someone's life, but to make the right choice day after day, to love, to believe, to fight, no matter what. That's the way things are, friends. This life is not a simple thing, full of surprises and shocks, but damn it, how beautiful it is. Take care of your loved ones. Know how to appreciate what you have. And don't be afraid to make mistakes, because you learn from mistakes. Well, I'm going to go hug my wife and kids now, just because I can, because I love them more than anything in the world. And for this feeling, I am ready to move mountains. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope you got something useful out of it. Take care of yourself and live in a way that you have nothing to regret. You can do it. Did you like this story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also, don't forget to like and ring the bell so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.